I'll start where it lands, not where it lifts off. Christmas Eve, Minneapolis. My breath showing, the F-150's hood is up like a jaw, and my son, yeah, the kid I raised 23 years, steps out of his Subaru with a casserole. We meet by the mailbox. I should ease into it. I don't. Evan, the hospital switched you at birth. Perfect holiday opener, right? Felt like dropping a bowling ball on a glass ornament. He blinks, steady as ever. We both know there's a whole year behind that one sentence. You wanted the story fast and tight. I'll run you through the road without the scenic turnoffs, but stick with me. Every mile matters. Back then, I was 29, maintenance tech at a distribution center off 169, good with socket wrenches, bad with paperwork. Sarah, my wife, taught 5th grade and smelled like dry erase and peppermint tea. We wanted a kid so bad it turned into a calendar. Tests, doctors, hope packing its bag every month and moving to the next page. Christmas Eve, our little rambler in crystal looked like an ornament itself. Leaning tree-eyed cut behind the VFW, parents over, football half-watched. After they left, Sarah took my hand and said one more gift. A small box. A test strip. Positive. Doctor's on the 27th, she said. I didn't want to jinx it. I kissed her like she'd invented the concept. That furnace kicked on like a choir. That was our hinge point. Everything else swung open. The months were all fruit sizes and pamphlets, and me over-smiling at nurses. I built an oak crib in the garage with corners I sanded twice, not because oak needs it, but because I needed it. We didn't learn the sex. We said we wanted the surprise. Truth? I wanted a boy and didn't trust my luck with labels. Delivery day, June, bright and sticky. We drove the Civic because my truck coughed like a grandpa. Room full of pros, beeps, names, and me holding her hand like a life preserver I didn't deserve. Cry, blink, the whole greatest hits. Name? The nurse asked. Evan, we said. They whisked him to the nursery for observations. I trailed him like a backup singer, watched them stamp a tiny foot onto a card. I got called back to sign something. Vitamin K, yes, no. And when I returned, there was a new nurse, 2 swaddled potatoes in 3 and 4, same knit hats, same universal baby face. I looked at the one I loved and nodded like a genius. Talk? Didn't double check. Remember that. I sure do. We brought him home, learned the bounce rhythm on a yoga ball, learned cartoons by you 10 minutes, learned you can live on 4 hours of sleep and sarcasm. He turned into a kid who loved tools and dinosaurs and asked why like he was being paid per question. Sundays we toured Home Depot for the smell of lumber and the promise of doing something with our hands that wasn't wiping. Baseball, shortstop, could stop anything and throw calm. Good kid, better human. High school, taller than me. I never admitted it. Steady girlfriend named Melissa who laughed like a jukebox fix. He told us he wanted to fix planes when he was 6 and then actually did it. Tech school in Duluth, then an internship at a hangar by MSB. He came home with grease under his nails and opinions on torque. My life then, 9 out of 10. I docked a point for the Vikings doing Vikings things. It starts with Janice from the neighborhood text thread, the one with the pinched face in the garden, pushing one of those DNA kits for a fun family tree at our 4th of July picnic. I said no. I already know what I am, Minnesota with a side of leftovers. But that night in the garage, hinge squeaking on a cabinet, I thought of Evan's curious, kind of cool, and figured fine. I spit in a tube under the kitchen light and mailed it like contraband. Weeks later at Costco, the email dings. Your results are in. Scandinavian, Central European, blah blah. No surprises. Then the relatives tab. Immediate family. None detected. I showed Sarah. She squinted. That can't be right. Probably needs more data, I said. You didn't do yours. She did hers. Evan had done one for a class ages ago. We waited. Her results, same weird thing. No immediate family. Now we got 2 phones, 2 frowns. And a help chat window telling us to check relative matching is on. I called the hospital. Donna from Records had an aunt voice and real patience. She pulled logs. Everything normal, she said, wristbands issued, footprints recorded, mother/baby match checks. One thing, she added, a brief power outage in the nursery on June 14th. Under a minute. Backups on. Rechecks documented. Nothing out of place. Under a minute. Not nothing. Evan came to dinner. We set our phones on the table like hand grenades. Would you do yours again? I asked. The lab kind. He stared, then shrugged. Sure. Let's prove it's all computer nonsense. He spat in his tube, sent it off, went back to the hangar. The quiet in our house got elbows. His results landed on a Friday night. We were at a high school basketball game, watching a former student try to be a hero. Evan called. It says I have an immediate family match, he said. Not you. Who? Sarah asked, too loud for a gym. A woman. Name's Linda. Minneapolis. We went home, searched. Linda. Nurse. Hospital. Hours. Evan's list also showed a possible sibling. Male. 2 years younger. Lives in St. Louis Park. Photo. Guy in a twins cap. I felt a click in my skull, like a wrench finding the right fit. We messaged Linda. I wrote, we had a son here in Juneau too. A test said there's a connection to you. No assumptions. Could we talk? She answered within an hour. 2 p.m. I'll be careful. I worked in the nursery back then. We called. I remember a breaker trip in Juneau too, she said. Backup lights, quick recheck, busy night, 2 mothers with similar last names. We drilled for this. We feared it. The logs say it was fine. But if it wasn't, I'm sorry. I don't have a word big enough. We met at a coffee shop with a fake fireplace and pastries that forgot the cost of flour. We brought Evan. She brought Ethan, her son, the one in the twins cap. He walked in, and my brain rearranged furniture. He looked like my brother's senior photo, and my uncle's driver's license had a kid. Evan saw it. So did Sarah. We all pretended to taste our coffee. We kept it simple, lab tests, not the party version. Chain of custody swabs in a strip mall clinic between a UPS store and a place that sells phone cases. The first result landed like a metal stamp. Probability of paternity, 0%. Evan read it at our table. He didn't shrink. He looked at me and said, so we know. Yeah, I said, we know the test works. Next, me and Ethan. 99.98%. That one didn't feel like a stamp. It felt like someone had opened a drawer in a room I lived in and pointed at the thing that always belonged there. We sat in the living room, paper in hand, casserole reheated, because that's what you do when you don't know what else to do. Evan said, so what am I? You're the guy who made runways out of Legos, I said. The one who texts me landing gear videos and tells me when the Twins sign a catcher. You're my kid. Period. Okay, he said. He didn't smile. He didn't have to. He held that like a ratchet. Grip, click, hold. We met Linda and Ethan again, this time at our house. Melissa joined. I like that she comes with a toolkit called perspective. Linda's voice shook the way a person's does when their job and their heart run into each other. I'm sorry, she said, if this is what it looks like. Evan said, we're not moving houses. Ethan said, me neither. So we add, I said, no substitutions. Add. Linda repeated, like she was writing it down. We grew into it, like jeans you didn't expect to fit. Saturdays, Ethan and I built things. He liked chisels. I liked showing him old tricks my granddad taught me. Sanding with the grain because you want to sleep at night. He's got this quiet focus that reminds me of my dad when he'd rebuild a carburetor at the kitchen table and make mom crazy. Wednesdays stayed Evans. He'd come straight from the hangar, grease under his nails, smelling like hydraulic fluid and coffee. We'd eat, then he'd pop the hood on one of our cars just to make sure we felt seen. Not everything was smooth. Thanksgiving, my sister asked too loudly, so which one is yours? I said both. She looked at me like I'd poured ketchup on pie. We moved on. In the garage later, Evan said, you handled that. I said, I've been practicing for questions no one should have to ask. We visited the hospital together. Me, Sarah, Evan, Linda, and Ethan to talk to patient experience. No pitchforks. We wanted to say it out loud to people who keep the lights on. They apologized. They showed us beeping scanners and barcodes, and words like redundancy. It helped a little. Afterward in the ramp, Evan leaned on the rail. You think about the other me? He asked. The version who came home with you. Of course, I said. But then I think about Melissa in the hangar and how your mom puts cinnamon in pancakes. I figure, alternate routes or not, the kitchen's the point. He nodded. Good kitchen. We made a plan for Christmas Eve. Both families, one table. The checklist felt like a flight plan. chairs, coats, casseroles, coffee, extra snow shovels. I fixed the F-150's engine light because if there's ever a time for stubborn things to work, it's when more people are looking. That lands us in my driveway, my dumb sentence, and Evan setting a casserole on the hood like it needs to overhear. You already said it, he told me. We know. I know, I said. Just wanted to stake it down so we don't trip over it later. Inside, chaos in a good way. Sarah and Linda did the shared kitchen dance. Ethan tended the fire like it was a pop quiz. Melissa plated cookies by color because she's got a system for everything. My dad held a chair like it might escape. People ate. People told stories. Ethan asked Evan, "So you picked planes at 6?" Evan said, "Yep." "You picked one shop class." "Yep." "We swapped specialties," Evan said. "Neat trick." I tried a dad joke about a plane landing on a workbench, and both of them groaned like I'd been training them for that moment since birth. Which in a way I had. After dessert, Ethan and I stood by the garage door and looked in at the new workbench we'd finished the week before. Solid. No wobble. Under it, a box of scrap. Pieces too small for projects and too good for the bin. That's family. Keep the pieces. One day you'll need exactly that size. Before he left, Evan handed me a wrapped frame with too much tape. Inside, 2 photos side by side. On the left, me holding baby Evan, hair still wet from the hand-wash sink. On the right, me and Ethan holding a board like we're teaching it manners. One word under both, added. Melissa's idea, he said. I picked the photos. You pick good parts, I said. We stood there with our coats open to living room heat. I went for wisdom and landed on plain speech. A father isn't a straight line, I said. It's a tree. Sometimes a branch is grafted. Sometimes it's seed. Sometimes a bird drops something. You water it either way. Are you getting wise again? He asked. Probably, I said. It's the eggnog. Go to bed, he said, hugging me quick. Click. Hold. You asked for tighter. So here's the highlight reel with the meters running. January. Evan's on a new shift. Wednesday, dinners survive. We talk about stubborn bolts and supervisors. He texts Ethan a photo of a torque pattern and captioned it. This is the fun part. Ethan replies with a chisel profile, and so is this. I don't say it out loud, but those 2 texts were the moment I realized we weren't juggling. We were balancing. February. Chilly night at Linda's. Her husband Ken's the quiet type with a stare that measures twice. Did Evan build models? He asks me. Legos, I say. He built a runway across my living room and declared it a no-taxi zone. Ken laughs, relief sneaking into the room like heat under a door. March. We start a table for Ethan's apartment. He prefers hand tools. We argue about finish. He wants natural. I argue for a mat that forgives dinner. We compromise, like adults who believe in future casseroles. April. Neighborhood cleanup. Ethan works next to my neighbor Mark and gets caught in a 20-minute lecture on the Twins bullpen. Survives it. That's practically a citizenship test around here. May. Sarah has her students write letters to their September selves. One kid writes, "You take things apart until they make sense." We tape it to our fridge. New family motto. June. Evan turns 24. We cook out. Ken pulls me aside by the lilacs. You ever feel replaced? He asks. No, I say. Multiplied. Scare me at first. Math's not my thing. Turns out you stretch instead of divide. He nods like his tape measure just found truth at 25 feet. July. 4th of July parade. We strap a wooden plane Ethan carved to my truck roof. Kids cheer when it wiggles. Janice texts the group about heritage desserts. I send a picture of the plane instead. Sometimes the best answer is not an answer. August. 3 a.m. Evan calls from the hangar. We fix it now, he says about a landing gear issue. The calm in his voice says he moved from lining up wrenches to calling the job. You always had it, I tell him. He grunts the way a guy does when he's trying not to enjoy a compliment. September. Ethan asks me to truck shop. He falls hard for a smoky old Chevy. I walk him toward boring and reliable. He thanks me later with a root beer 6-pack and a canvas tool roll that made me unreasonably happy. October. Sarah and I take a leaf drive like we used to. Diner pancakes the size of hubcaps. On the way back, she asks, if you'd known day one, would you do anything different? Double check a tag, I say. Everything else stays. November. First real snow. Ethan texts a photo of dinner on the new table. Table holds. Evan texts a landing gear close-up. This holds too. I sleep like lumber that finally found a rack. December. You saw it. Driveway. Casserole. Sentence. Inside, people sharing space the way good people do. Kindly, with refills. We did go back to the hospital, not to point a finger, but to say this happened. Say it. They showed barcodes, scanners that beep if a tag is wrong, procedures with redundancy. Good. Keep it up. If you're ever in a nursery and the lights flicker, check the tags twice. 3 times. Stand there like a goalie. I can't sell you a moral, but I can hand you a shop towel with a couple smudged truths. Label your stuff. Double check your work. Eat before you get mean. When a surprise knocks, don't leave it on the porch. Bring it in. Hang up a coat. Find a chair. Ask for the long version. Also, family isn't math that stops at 2 numbers. It's a tree. You don't chop off a branch because it showed up late. You water it and see where it goes. Add, don't substitute. That's our banner over the garage door now. Christmas morning, Evan texted from the tarmac. Dough icing delay. On call if they need a fix. Ethan texted 2 minutes later. Send the workbench plan. Cutting legs today. I sent both. The coffee tasted like cheap coffee. Perfect. The tree leaned a little because I trimmed it myself like I knew what I was doing. If you stop by next Christmas Eve, knock twice and come in. We've got enough casserole to last a power outage. A workbench that doesn't wobble. 2 men who argue about tools and then pick up a shovel without being asked. And a sign on the fridge that says, you take things apart until they make sense. We did. Then we put them back together and set another plate.